Hello everyone and welcome to Blue Tengu's live game development show where we show everything that goes into making a game from concept to completion. If you've ever wanted to make a game, we hope this will help lower the barrier to entry, maybe give you the nudge you needed to try it yourself. Even if you don't want to make a game, we hope you'll find some value in what we're doing here. All of the information about where you can find us is in the Twitch info down below or in our YouTube profile for those of you catching us later. But just in case, we're at www.bluetengu.com, btengu on Twitter. There's no dashes, hyphens, anything like that. Facebook.com, Blue Tengu Studio, all one word. YouTube.com, Blue Tengu Studio, also all one word. For those of you watching the live stream with me now, and Twitch TV Blue Tengu, for those of you watching us on YouTube. If you missed any episodes, you can always catch them over at YouTube, but you shouldn't have any trouble following along even if you haven't seen them. For those of you who haven't seen this show on Twitch or YouTube before, my name's Eric. I'm a game designer living in Japan who's trying to show you everything that goes into making a game for about 2 hours a week, including all the ums and ahs and awkward debugging moments, especially those. The reason I'm showing it all as opposed to making the game first and scripting out a rehearsed tutorial is because I do want to lower that barrier so many of us feel towards making a game, and I hope inspire you to go out and try it, or stick with it if you are working on it. Thank you to everyone who dropped by last week, and to all of those who watched the video on YouTube. We had a great chat going, and I hope we'll have another great one today. I think we will, because we've already got Noob and Decent Scrimp in here. And for those of you here with me on Twitch, Noob and Decent Scrimp, for example, feel free to drop suggestions or ask me questions at any time. I may not be able to answer them right away because I am working, and if the chat gets going, I might not be able to keep up. There was a little of that last week where I couldn't keep up. But I'll try to get to them, and if I can't, please send me a private message here, leave a comment on our site or YouTube video, or even send me an email at Eric with a C at bluetengu.com, and I should be able to reply. If any of you are out there making something and you don't mind showing it off, send me a link to your stuff. I'd love to see it. You can even post a link in the feed. Don't mind at all. No one's been spamming the feed or anything with like weird links to, you know, protein supplements or anything like that, so I'm pretty good with just posting links in there if you want to. Might even run off and play it if it is free. So anyway, at this time every week for 2 hours I come on to Twitch TV to work on the game Project Spaghetti for Season 1. And that game's a top-down 2D cowboy shooter where the bullets fired bounce around the screen with a pinball mechanic. Last week I made the game a little more risky in exchange for some reward by making the enemies drop coins when they die, in addition to the normal points awarded to the player. Even just playing it myself, I'm taking a lot more risks, and my recklessness is killing me. I find it very difficult to actually move through the stages, but that's my personality, because I tend to take a lot of chances, which usually means running up and getting shot. Decent Scrimp would probably know. If you ever get a chance to play an FPS with me, I'm the worst person to have on your team because I'm the guy that's just charging out there, trying to take some risk and be a superhero, and then just dying and being the one who's trying to crawl back to his teammates for help. And, well, that's interesting because Project Spaghetti is now playing right into my flawed survival instinct. This week, I want to take a step back, though, and brush up the boss we put in way back in episode 26, week 26. At the moment, the big guy's a little stupid. He fires out a bunch of bullets that tend to bounce back, and because he's giant, he's a boss, he tends to hit himself more than the player. So I'm thinking of switching his bullets out with the exploding variety to make sure that he doesn't do more harm to himself than good. I also want to give the player some idea of how well they're doing in that boss fight by indicating, you know, how healthy the boss is. So there's probably going to be a little bit of like red flash or something that if I can work it in there. But first let me show you the game so far and the boss fight as it is before we start working on it. And I have to remember to jump over to my Trello task list. That's something I forgot to do last week at the beginning. So let's jump into it. Get my desktop, and I do the game in GameMaker Studio, which is awesome for 2D games. Just enough complexity to do what you need to do without too much. And Noob says you did it. I was worried that I would do what I do almost every week, which is forget to actually announce that we're starting on Twitter. Before I used to show like the animated shorts at the beginning of the episode, which gave me kind of a cool down time, a chance to kind of, you know, get ready, post things on Twitter, do all that stuff. But now because I just show that I start the show, you know, right at 8 in Japan, usually means I forget to actually hit enter on the thing going out to Twitter. But did it this week, and Decent Scrimp says no one's been spamming the feed yet. Challenge accepted. So I guess look forward to some protein supplement advertising spam from Decent Scrimp. Shouldn't have thrown down the gauntlet. That's my fault. Let me shrink this down so you guys can actually see it. Because my monitor is old, like I say every week. It's just a square monitor, and I do 16:9 broadcasting, so everything from this point up actually gets shown. Everything from this point down doesn't. And I'm doing something new this week, which is to actually pop out the chat window and at least keep some of it in the lower corner. I can only see about 1 or 2 messages at a time, but at least I don't have to keep constantly looking over here to check if the chat's moving or not. May not be enough to respond if you guys get going, then I'll have to turn my head as I always do. But let's get started. Show you what we've got so far. Usually go through all the stages every week, but I think this week I'll focus on just the opening stage and then jump to the boss stage. Because a lot of you have already seen, what the game is. So this is just the tutorial opening. It shows you what's going on in the game. First thing you can do is actually shoot. You can use the controller, you can use the keyboard, the mouse. Because I have the mouse plugged in right now, it's just giving me the mouse tutorial. So if I don't aim at the enemy, it tells me to aim at the enemy. And it teaches me to use the left mouse button to shoot. There are coins popping out from last week. And you can also duck bullets. So those are your 2 major actions. Well, I guess you can move, that's a 3rd major action. So you can go around, collect the coins, get those extra points, and get yourself killed like I always do now. The enemies can also duck, obviously. There I go, trying to collect coins. Let's see if it gets me killed. And the faster the bullets get going, as they bounce around, they go faster. The faster they get going, the more points they're worth. Also, the more coins they kick out. There I go, taking risks. Let's not do that. Nice. And I did one thing I did add during the overtime is to actually pause a little bit before doing the result screen so that you can collect the coins. Otherwise, it kind of cheat to the player. And there's other stages as well, but I'm going to jump to the boss stage. Find it. There we go. Right now, the layout hasn't been considered that well, but here's the boss. I haven't even animated him. I just basically took the small version and blew him up to make him look like a boss. Unlike most of the smaller ones, he's very good at ducking, so it takes quite a bit to get him hurt. You kind of have to fire a lot of bullets and get him kind of bouncing around, which means more risk for you as well. If he survives the bullets, which I've put out, he'll start firing 3 or 5 shots at a time. There you go. And now you can see the trouble for him. He's got a lot more to dodge than I do because he's gigantic. And you need to do something about that. Having 5 bullets kind of flying out at once is awesome, but the fact that they bounce back is what's going to kill the boss. So I think I am going to switch them over to the exploding bullets, which are these. Let me charge up my shot here. If the bullet bounces enough, it turns into an exploding slow one. Like that. If it hits something, it just explodes, so it's not going to bounce back on the boss. So I think that's one thing I do want to do. And before I forget, let's jump over to the task list and explain that a bit. Also go over some of the tasks that I did do in the meantime from the last episode. So this is the task list. It's public. It's over at Trello.com. Usually post the link on the YouTube videos, but it's probably easiest to just go to Google and type in Trello and Project Spaghetti, those 3 words, and it'll probably pop up to here, unless there's now a restaurant called Project Spaghetti's Trello. That's getting popular. So let's see. Today's going to be the boss stuff, right there. But after the last episode where we put in the coins, there were still a few things I wanted to do. One thing was just kind of a system thing. I'm trying to remember who in the chat mentioned it last week, but someone did mention that there is something in GameMaker you can do to pause the game when the window loses focus. Let me show you what that is. Let's show you it in action. And I looked it up. There's no perfect way to do it, but this way is not too bad. You know, say I click away from the game. I do have it, you know, set to jump to the pause screen so that you don't screw your game up if you click somewhere by mistake. It's not perfect, but it's pretty good. It seems to do the job, and it'll probably help me quite a bit. So that was that task. The thing I just explained before was level over. Don't move to the next level if there are coins. Obviously, you know, the last enemy is probably going to be the one that gets the most powerful bullet in their face, which means there's going to be a lot of coins spreading out. If the player doesn't have a chance to pick up those coins, that's annoying. So until those coins flash and disappear or the player picks them all up, I don't move to the next level. I do still take away the bullets that were flying around on the screen because, you know, if the player does kill all of the enemies, it would be really frustrating to just have like one bullet that you didn't spot just kind of kill you even after you've beaten the level. So I do make the bullets vanish. This is just a debugging task. The room in jingle plays on loop. That was because I was using the standard BGM function, which just naturally plays music on loop to do the jingle. Made a different one that just plays it once. So now, you know, for example, if you pause right when that music is playing, it just keeps going do-do-do-do-do, do-do-do-do-do, over and over again. So I stopped that. The bullet chamber UI, the thing that's in the upper left corner that shows how many bullets you have, I turned that off for the tutorial start and the game over now. So because unless you can fire, there's no real reason to have it there, and it's just kind of cluttering the screen. Also added, you know, a stat for number of enemies killed, which is surprisingly something I didn't add in the stats before. And I also added a debug menu so that, you know, all of those stat tracking things that we did back in episode 35, it looks like, all of those stats now, I don't have to go into the debugger to check them. I can just go into just press a key and basically have them all pop up in the debug message. Makes it a lot easier to check them. One of the stats that I did fix also was that the collisions count more than once. I did set it up so it's not a perfect solution either. Did set it up so that if an enemy is ducking or the player is ducking, the first bullet that comes by gets counted for the first frame, but until the player stops ducking, it doesn't count anything else. Not a perfect solution because obviously if two bullets, you know, two different bullets fly over the player while they're ducked, it's only going to count one of them. But that's a lot better than counting, you know, 60 bullets or however many frames it takes for the bullet to get past the player. Better. And I also update and save the record stats now, so if you manage to, you know, blow off 20 snowman heads, it now tracks that and saves it for you. Also fixed the game over, which was done in episode 36. The enemy timings were a little weird, so I fixed that. And let's see, there was also something where even though you were using the mouse to start the game, it still gave you the keyboard version of the tutorial, so I fixed that. You obviously saw that at the very start, where I just was doing left mouse button. And there was also a weird bug where if you're moving the character with the mouse and you jump to another stage, you know, he was just kind of moving off on his own. Fix that as well by just clearing out that input. And the player recovers speed up sprite. Actually, that's something I need to show. That was one of the tasks for later, but I just kind of wanted to do it because I just had a little bit of time to do it. So, let's see, probably jump to some place where it's going to be easy to shoot myself. So there's always been the system in the game, or at least for a long time, where if you're down, you can press the duck key to get up faster if you want to. But because visually there was nothing showing you that you could do that, it's just kind of a hidden feature. Didn't want to necessarily make it hidden. So there's just this little effect and a sound effect that goes over your head. Visual effect that goes over your head and a sound effect to go with it. To indicate that you're actually successfully making yourself get up faster. And the last thing was prevent pickups from disappearing during the tutorial. This was because I added coins. When it was just bullets and health, it didn't really matter, but now that, you know, in the tutorial when you shoot the enemies, coins come out. Because of the timing, they would tend to disappear before you could even move. That would be frustrating, so just made sure that they don't disappear until you start moving. They don't start that, you know, countdown process until they start moving. So that was a little bit of overtime there. Just little tasks cleaning up. But today it's going to be the boss cowboy. The first thing is going to be to visualize that health state. I think I know how to go about it using the image blend stuff. We'll see how it looks. Image blend never seems to give me the results I want, but we'll try it. And the boss cowboy attack charge time when vulnerable. This is something I was thinking about. Besides the exploding bullet solution, the other possible solution would have been that the boss just always ducks except for when shooting or something. In this case, because the boss is going to fire out exploding bullets, the boss should probably pause and get ready to attack and then fire out the exploding bullets to kind of match what the player does. Obviously a lot faster than the player, otherwise it wouldn't be much of a game. But that would be a good chance to shoot the boss and stop him from firing out 5 exploding bullets. So let's try visualizing the health state first. So right now when you shoot the boss, he can take about 5 bullets before going down, but there's no way to know how well he's doing, how healthy he is, because he's just always that same purple sprite. Let's see if we can do something about that. And let's see, actors, boss, cowboy. Okay, and I think I keep track of the health in here. Enemy health, EM health. So I just have to check that in the draw state. Yeah, see, there's all these animations that I haven't put in yet. Keeping it simple. Let me just look up an image blend just to make sure I'm using it right. There's the description of what it does. It basically just throws a color on top of what you already have. Obviously, if it's white, it's not adding anything. If it's black, it makes everything just a shadow, which is something you could use if you want to make kind of an emo indie game. Okay, well, let's just go with that. See what happens. So image speed, image index, image speed, it should be after all of this probably. So switch, EM health. And it starts at 5. But I probably don't want to hard code these numbers in case I do want to make the boss more difficult later. So let's start with EM max health. If he's at full health, there doesn't need to be any blending, which is just see white. Or I guess you could use -1, I think the site said. That might make more sense to me, because if I see white, something in my head makes me think that I'm adding a color to it, so I don't want to do that. The next thing is probably EM max health. I should probably make the image blends match the way he changes his attack patterns. Which is all in script fire shot boss. Script fire shot boss. Do the exact same thing I'm doing here. So the boss becomes desperate when their health goes down to 1/4 of what it is. So actually I should do the switch statement in this order. In fact, maybe I shouldn't use a switch statement. Let's not use a switch statement. Let's just go with standard if and else, because there's not going to be a whole bunch of options anyway. There, that'll make it cleaner. Okay, image blend. And I do want to throw a Commodore 64 color on top. The result isn't going to be a Commodore 64 color, which is unfortunate, but I don't think I have much choice. Let's just see what it is. Let's go with just plain red for now. Let's see what it looks like. Half health is another state. I'm actually gonna get it flashing if I can pull that off, but I don't need break. But for now, I'm just gonna keep it simple by making the color variation do its thing. I suppose if there's ever the possibility that the boss regains health, I should make sure that the image blend goes back to normal. If he isn't running out of health. And let's just see what this looks like. I imagine that purple and yellow are going to make a very interesting color combination. It's probably going to look terrible, but let's see what happens. Okay, jump to the boss level. 8, 7, 6, there we go. Have to hit 6 on the keyboard to make that jump. So right now he's perfectly healthy. Dodging like a maniac. Got him once. Because he has 5 hit points, to get him down to half health, or less than or equal to half health, is going to take 3 bullets. He's a little zealous on the ducking there for some reason. Ah, there we go. There we go. Okay, he turned yellow. Well, his coat turned yellow. His face kind of turned yellow. So it kind of works. The result is a little weird. Obviously, I don't want to use yellow. But let's see what he looks like red. Because red should at least not screw up his face. Well, now I'm not going to be able to see colors because I don't have health. There we go. Just need that one last bullet to hit him without hitting me. Just one bullet. This is always the hard part. Getting him into this last state. Oh. Alright, I need to turn on unlimited health for myself. Let's see, I think it's F8. Hopefully he doesn't get hit before I grab the health item. There we go, health item. Okay, and I've turned on invincibility, so I should be okay even if I get hit. Okay, now he should turn to red. Yes, okay. Red's not bad. Red works. Yeah, red works. Let's see. So I guess to start out with, I could just have a really slow flash. Then kind of move it to a faster and faster flash, and then maybe in his last like health point or whatever, he's just red by default. Yellow's obviously out of the question, so let's jump over into him. And let's see, drawing stuff. I should probably also up his hit points to 6, because otherwise he doesn't get into those more aggressive states very often. So there's a reason not to hard code those numbers into anything. Alright, so let's see. If he's down to his last quarter of health, which would be, he can take 2 more bullets. And let's see. We could also do something where the flashing gets a little faster and faster as his health goes down. So that could be a function rather than having to go into an if-else thing. And let's see, do I need to use an alarm? Don't really want to use an alarm for this, but yeah, let's not use an alarm. What I should do is, let's see, create a variable out here. Let's call it EM flash. Yeah, let's not say flash encounter. Then it sounds like the boss is going to flash the player. That comments would be interesting though. So if it comes into here, let's do this. EM flash plus equals 1. EM flash plus equals 2. Actually, 1 here and 2 here. That'd be interesting, because then I could use the timer to figure out how fast he's going to flash anyway. And I could do all that out here, actually. And put EM flash to 0 if it comes in here. So, let's see. If EM flash is equal to... Using VBA scripting again recently, so I'm starting to forget which one's which, but I think in GameMaker you can use the double ones. Let's see. Let's define something for the boss. Flash rate. And let's say that I want the boss to flash once every 30 frames by default. Once every 10 frames by default. Let's try 10. 5. Alright, well, we'll see what we can do with that number. Then, let's see. If mod. Actually, I could probably get away with a mod here. Let's see. Can I just say mod? Yes. Okay. So if em flash mod flash rate. So if I have 8, it'll give me 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Might not be what I want to do. So what I'm trying to do is have the boss have an equal time in both of those colors. Because if I was doing what I was just going to do, it would only turn the boss red for like 1 frame and then go back to normal, which is not what I want. It feels like there's a more clever way to do this, but I'm going to just go with doing it the easy way. And just switch that state if it reaches the boss flash rate. There's probably a clever way to do that with some math, but I'm not able to do math at 8 in the morning in Japan, so let's do one more variable. Get sloppy here. And flashing. False. 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 To a new color. Okay. So it's not quite flashing. So EM flashing is false by default. Oop, oop, don't want to close that. And I got an interesting message in the Twitch feed that says Binre is now hosting you for 14 viewers. No idea what that means. Let me actually look that up. Let's see. Hosting you for viewers. Twitch. I think it's a new Twitch feature where you can actually show someone else's feed in your own feed. But let me check that. Host mode. Okay, let me look that up. Obviously, if any of you 14 guys out there know what this is, just let me know. So that's what that is. Okay, good. So you're... Where did all these viewers come from? Okay, yeah, that's exactly what it is. Well, thank you, Binre. Thank you very much for sending some people my way. Awesome. Thank you, Binre. That's awesome. I'm going to have to check out your channel, too. Are you doing game dev? If you're just going to jump off, just, don't worry about answering the question, but because you stopped streaming. But if you are doing some game dev stuff, that'd be awesome to actually see. I'll make a note of that here. So I like to check out other people's channels. If you're just streaming games or something, that's cool too, because I like that. Obviously, I like games if I'm making them. But thank you very much, and welcome, guys. And welcome, Remy. Oh, this is going to be hard to pronounce. Remiello? Let me know if I made a mistake with that pronunciation, although it's going to be hard to correct me in chat. But welcome, guys. And thank you, Binre. Right now, what I'm doing is going through the game as it is now and trying to brush up the boss fight a little bit. And I'm trying to do that by showing the boss's health state, which is, currently the boss doesn't change colors or do anything, no matter how much damage he's taking, but trying to get him to flash a little bit when he does that, which is what I'm working on right now. So if EM flash equals boss rate, then I want to toggle those. So EM flashing equals, let's see if I can get away with this. Let's see if GameMaker lets me get away with this. It'd be awesome if it did, because then I don't have to do anything else. Alright, and the last thing is, if EM flashing is true, then throw that color on there. And Edmus drops by as well. Hey Edmus, welcome to the chat, and thank you for dropping by after Binre sent you here. Hope you like what we're doing. I'll try to, since a lot of new people just kind of jumped in here, what I'll try to do is once I get this one little feature working, I'll try to describe what the show is a little bit. Because probably none of you have seen it before, so just to give you the concept. So let's see, let's get this working. So I can do that. Global C64 red. 64 red, not 65. Commodore never made us Commodore 65 as far as I know. Or did they? There was like some prototype thing that came out not too long ago. That was sold for a lot on eBay. Alright, so I don't need these things anymore. Let's not do anything in here. And flash equals 0. So reset flash to 0 on there. Alright, let's see what this does. Hopefully it doesn't turn the boss into something that's going to give anyone epileptic seizures, because it is flashing red. Have to be careful about that. Let's see, stage 6 is the boss fight stage. The big guy's going to come out. And I better turn my invincibility on again, because otherwise, if I take a hit, then the color drains out of the screen, and that's not going to be very useful for testing. So as you can see, just a description of the game itself while the boss is taking some time to take some damage here. Project Spaghetti is the game I'm working on in GameMaker Studio. It's a game where the bullets fired bounce around the screen with kind of a pinball mechanic, and you have to use that to your advantage to kill enemies. There doesn't seem to be any flashing going on with the boss, it just seems to be blending. So I think I need to turn the blend off, is what I forgot to do. Let's do that. Let's do that, and then I'll describe a little bit more about what this is. Boom. Okay, so image blend equals -1. Okay, that should turn the flash, well, should turn that color off and start him flashing. And Jaborian drops by. Hey Jim. Got a lot of people because Binre just finished his or her, I'm sorry, I shouldn't make assumptions. But just finished the chat, or their show. Sent a bunch of people this way. And dropped to the boss fight. Let's see if the big guy's going to start flashing now. Turn on invincibility, and here we go. Okay, and Binre did confirm that you are a he. Okay. So I don't feel too bad about making that assumption anymore. It's something I need to stop myself from doing. It's just one of those things. Oh, alright, there we go. We got the boss flashing. So you know he's injured. He's flashing a little too fast. That could cause some seizures. Yeah, that's probably not the right amount of flashing. Need to slow that down a little bit. If he takes one more hit, he should start flashing even faster. Got him before he got the last hit. Alright, let's try that again. Need to see that extra state. And since I need to check out Binre's show, I should tell you what, you guys who are watching this later on YouTube, tell you about it. Binre does do game dev weekdays from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So definitely check out his show. I will be checking it out myself. And I think the flashing was working okay. But let me change it up a little bit. Boss Cowboy, draw, flash. It needs to be a little bit faster, actually, so it doesn't look too weird. 2 frames, 5 frames, 3 frames. But it's +2. Let's make sure we do that. Greater than or equal to. Yeah, +1, +2, 3. 3 might be okay. Let's see. The odd number might make it really weird, though. Let's do 4. 5 was actually pretty weird. Okay, let's see what it does. And Xglade, looking pretty good so far. Hope to catch you later. Thank you, Xglades. Hope you do catch us later too. Obviously, you can follow on Twitch, and you can also check us out on Twitter, Tengu. All that information is in the Twitch info down below. So if you're interested in following or catching past episodes, those are over at YouTube. Oop. Okay, so I stretched the screen, so it's going to look weird now, but turn on invincibility, and let's check the flashing. Thankfully, now that I have unlimited ammo, I should be able to hit him. I want to take a few of those bullets off the screen. Get him one more time. Okay. Alright, so there's the first level of flashing. Okay, don't get hit by anything anymore. Okay, he is flashing pretty quick. Alright, so I think we're at a pretty good spot there. And Edmund gave me a nice warning here. Binre likes to walk downstairs and has infectious laughter. Awesome. Awesome. I'm looking forward to seeing your show, man. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Sounds like you have an awesome personality. Obviously, if you have this many people following your game dev, you're definitely doing something right. Looking forward to it. Alright, let me give the spiel for what I'm doing here, because otherwise you guys might not know what I'm doing. So let's do that. I'll jump off the desktop here and kind of go over what I'm doing. So for those of you who started out in the show, this is going to be kind of repetitive, but basically this is just Blue Tengu's live game development show where we show everything that goes into making a game from concept to completion. And the goal here is to kind of show everything, including all the ums and ahs and awkward debugging moments that we have. So it's not quite like a tutorial, it's more just, you know, kind of showing the process. Because if you see me kind of stumble around and try to figure things out, I hope it'll kind of inspire you to go out and do it yourself. And when you are doing it yourself and you stumble around once in a while, you realize that, hey, this guy stumbles around even more. So I shouldn't feel too bad about what I'm doing. And of course, if you're, you know, I just hope to inspire some people to go out and try game dev themselves, because it's not that hard. It's kind of hard, but it's not that hard. And for those of you who haven't seen the show on Twitch or YouTube before, my name's Eric. I'm a game designer living over here in Japan, so I'm actually broadcasting in my morning, but it's probably most of your evenings or nights, depending on where you're living. And usually I try to keep up with the chat, but because I am, you know, working and doing game dev, may not be able to keep up. But you know, if for some reason I miss your question or anything, you can always send me a private message here, leave a comment on our site or a YouTube video, sitesbluetengu.com, or you know, send me a tweet at btengu, or an email at eric@bluetengu.com. And I come on every 2 hours at this time on Twitch TV to work on the game Project Spaghetti for Season 1 of the show. And like you saw, it was a top-down 2D cowboy shooter where the bullets fired bounce around with a pinball mechanic. And today what I'm working on is the boss. So let me jump you over to the task list and show you what I'm working on here. There we go. Keep the task list for the game over at Trello.com. So if you search for Trello and Project Spaghetti, you can see what this is. Also, all the past episodes are, linked here as well, along with the tasks that were taken on during that episode. Right now we're in week 38, working on fixing up the boss. Did get the visualized health state working. Might need a little brushing up, but that's done. All these tasks that are in progress need to get out of there. Those were things I was thinking about doing before the show, but didn't really get a chance to. Coin animation. And now, what we want to do is make sure that the boss's attacks don't hurt the boss, because he is a gigantic boss. So when he fires out 3 bullets or 5 bullets, he ends up hitting himself more than the player, which is not a very effective boss. So what I want to do is when he fires out a bullet, make it an exploding bullet. And Remielon says midnight 1240. So you must be around Europe, I'm guessing, because I think that's about the time for people in Europe when I broadcast. Let's see, what can I do to get him to fire exploding bullets? I am just spawning a regular bullet, but I think I can actually directly specify what kind of bullet I want. I think I do that for the player. When the player fires, it does the charged shot. Let's see, let me show you what that charged shot is too, because it'll show what the exploding bullet is as well. And what I want the boss to do. So let's jump in here. Let's go to an easy stage like the ghost stage. With this stage, the ghosts, you can fire through them until you hit this bell and upset them. When you do that, they charge you, and that's the only time you can actually damage them. But the reason I chose the ghost stage is they're fairly friendly if you're not hitting that bell. I can stop moving here, get to a somewhat safe place, and I'll turn on invincibility. So if I hold down the button, I can charge my shots. If I go all the way, I can fire this exploding shot. So I want to do something similar to that for the boss. So whatever code I'm using in the player is what I can use for the boss to create that bullet. Charge level. There's what I'm doing. As soon as I create that bullet, I'm setting the bounce, the number of bounces to the number of bounces it takes to get to that exploding state. So that's exactly what I need to do for the boss. Here. So let's check for bullet. Of course, it's the bullet script, so there's going to be a lot of bullets in here. Let's just keep that highlighted. There's my bullet instances. Alright. So I can say bullet instance BL bounces equal to that. So when he fires out 5 bullets, they're all going to be exploding bullets, which means they're only dangerous to the player. And Edmus says the same time for you too, so you must be in Europe as well. A lot of guys in Europe. I didn't see whether or not Binre was Europe as well. But see, Edmus, thank you for dropping by after Binre sent you here. Hope you do check us out in the future. It's awesome having all you guys in here. That is awesome. Okay, there we go. Got the bullets so that they're exploding now. So see ya, Edmus. Thank you for dropping by. I'll turn on invincibility because otherwise I'm going to get myself killed. Yep, boss fires out an exploding bullet now, which is cool. Okay, so for the most part, the boss ducks the bullets that you send out. But if you can catch the boss when he's firing one of those exploding bullets, you seem to be able to hit him better. Without a visual cue, it's really hard to tell at the moment when the boss is about to fire one of those bullets. So that's something I need to work on. Also, because the boss is just literally a double version of the smaller enemies, the bullets kind of appear out of nowhere, so I need to fix that as well. And let's see. I think I'm gonna do here, because if it's all exploding bullets, that's it's actually easier to dodge them because exploding bullets move so slow. So I think what I'm gonna do is have one of the bullets be normal speed, maybe the one in the middle. So in the beginning, the boss is just gonna behave like any other enemy. Oops, getting used to VBA again. Comment that out. So the bullet that comes out of the middle is just going to be a normal bullet, whereas all the ones that come out at an angle, like a shotgun, are going to be exploding bullets. That might be a good balance. Here goes. And turn on invincibility. Don't want to forget to do that, so I will get myself killed. Okay, so the boss is just firing out bullets as normal when he first starts out. Now that I've injured him, he should be... Make sure he doesn't get too injured here. Okay. Now he should fire out a mix of bullets. Yes, he does. So the result is that he's only got one bullet to dodge, which is the same as if you're shooting him, so it's probably balanced about right. Maybe I could bump up his ducking a little bit. If anything, I should probably make it where he just always ducks unless he's in that range where he just shot something. Then he'd be very dangerous. And actually, I should slow down that flashing a lot more. Let's take it the other direction, because otherwise, yeah, that's kind of an annoying amount of flash. So let's do that. Boss flash rate, let's change that. Let's slow it down again. Let's go with something like 8. Make it real slow. 6, well, let's go with 6. And let's see, one other thing I'm noticing is that he doesn't flash too often. Let me add one more health state in here. Times 0.75. Let me do that. Because right now he has to take like about 3 bullets before he starts flashing. So it doesn't give him much of a chance to show off his stuff. So if anything, I should have more states. So let's see, 6, 5. Let me think about this. If he has 6 hit points, if he's got 6, he does the normal thing. 5, he does the normal thing. 4, he does the normal thing. 3, he suddenly fires out 3 bullets. Let's see, divided by 4. 6 divided by 4, 2.5, less than. So yeah, this is when he would suddenly switch to 5 bullets. Which isn't a very good distribution. What should happen is probably here. I want it to go to 3 bullets. So let's do that. Let's make sure it works out that way. So 6 divided by 4. Oops, 4 divided by 6, my bad. Clear, clear, clear. 4 divided by 6. Yeah, 2/3. Alright. let's go with 0.7. No reason to have any super deep floating decimal points in here. So that's step 1. Shouldn't have got my calculator off. The next would be, so that's 4 divided by 6. The next would be 1/3. So that would be 0.4. And 4.7. And let's take out this state. So there are, again, just 2 states. And I'm missing a parentheses. Okay, so this should divide it up so that there's 2 steps of each state, rather than the kind of unbalanced thing I had going. By the way, I do always mention this in the show, but if any of you guys are working on something, feel free to throw a link in the chat feed. I don't block anything out because so far no one's spammed me or thrown up advertisements for protein supplements or anything, although Decent Scrimp promised to do that. He hasn't, so I guess he decided against that. I guess if you're working on a game about protein supplements, that would be the one exception. Okay, there we go. He took 2 hits and now he's flashing, so we're in a good spot. I do need to fix his AI part as well. Am I doing that in here? Yes. Okay, I do need to fix his AI part as well so that it matches what I'm doing out there. So that was 0.4. And that is 0.7. So now everything's synced up. The first 2 hits, he does the normal thing, he's not flashing. Second 2 hits, he's flashing a little bit, shoots out 3 bullets, 1 of which is a normal bullet, 2 are exploding bullets. And for his last 2, he's firing out 5 bullets. 4 of those are exploding, 1 is normal. Let's see if we can get him ducking properly. Let's see, fire shot boss, don't need to worry about that anymore. Let's jump into here. Let's see, need to do something about that dodge. Enemy freeze, if dodging or shooting, stop movement. That's if he's moving around. Now what I want to do is check the dodge stuff. He's got this EM dodge cooldown. Stop if something's in the way, that's fine. Okay, here's the dodge stuff. Inside of the bullet collision, obviously, if the bullet's getting close, he dodges. If EM health 1 is true. Oh, that's if he actually does get hurt. So it's not there. It's something else. Oh, I know why. Because the boss cowboy is just inheriting enemy behavior. All that stuff's in here. Begin, right? Yes. Okay, so it's in the begin step of every enemy. That if the bullet gets close, try to dodge it. So what I should do is make that dodge counter really quick for the boss. But if the boss recently fired a bullet, then switch that off so he can't dodge. So that your only chance to really hit the boss is when he's firing. That would be the goal. So let's see, how can I go about doing that without overriding all of this logic? Because it'd be nice to just inherit it. Although the sprite width times 1.5 is also making the boss look weird. Because the boss is 2 times as large as other sprites. So he ducks really early for bullets. So maybe it is just a good idea to just bring this over into the boss and just fiddle with it. So, begin step. So now ignoring the normal enemy thing, this is the boss's version. So I think I'm going to need to do that anyway. So first off, is less than sprite width times. Let's drop that a little bit so that the bullets have to get a little closer for the boss to dodge. And create a firing state so that if the boss recently fired a bullet, keep track of that. So in here, fire shot boss, so something in there. Let's see. Add a quick variable in here for EM vulnerable. There we go. There's a good name for a variable, vulnerable. And that's set to false by default. Is the boss open to getting shot? Okay. So if he fires a bullet, then we'll set that. So EM vulnerable, set that to true. And I'm going to need an alarm to unset that, so let me make sure I don't use something I'm already using. So alarm 10. Alarm 10. This will just set that vulnerable back to false. And add a quick constant in here for how long the boss is vulnerable. Let's see, if the player has to dodge the bullets, it's probably going to be about a second. It's probably not going to be very long, because otherwise it's going to be too easy for the player, but we can adjust that as we go. So I'll call alarm 10 after this number of seconds have passed. Boom. So call an alarm. By the way, any of you guys watching this, have you used GameMaker before? I'm curious about that, because I know everyone is into Unity and Unreal, but there are a couple of people out there who are using GameMaker. Obviously, Unreal and Unity are going to do everything you need them to do, but this is more kind of 2D focused. But some good games have been made in here, like the original Spelunky, and the game I always bring out is Gunpoint by Tom Francis. Got to actually meet him at GDC, which was awesome. Heard his talk, and it was actually quite inspiring. I'm putting a lot of that information about what I learned at GDC over at bluetengu.com as well, so if you're interested, you could go over there. But that'll definitely be one of the talks I throw up there in the coming weeks. But he was originally a journalist over in the UK who obviously loved games because he was in game journalism, but I think he worked on Gunpoint just weekends. He mentioned that he tried to avoid doing it on weeknights and stuff so he could stay, in a good mental state, which is probably a good thing. And eventually, after I think about 2 years, he got the game going. Eventually got an artist on it and got a sound designer on it, and it's awesome. It goes on sale once in a while on Steam, so when it does, it's definitely worth checking out. That's an awesome game, if you like 2D games, obviously. Make the boss vulnerable. There we go. And not just GameMaker, but if you guys are using anything else, let me know. What do you like using to make games if you're doing it yourself? Then, and I should probably comment this. Make the boss a dodge master again. Okay. So now I just need to tie that into begin step. So rather than using this cooldown thing, what I think I'm going to do is make sure that EM vulnerable is true, is false. Because if he's not vulnerable, then he should be able to duck every time. And I'm not using dodge cooldown anymore, but I'll leave it in there just in case I need to bring it back. Let's see what happens. This should be interesting. Kind of wondering what's going to happen when he comes out of the duck, or when multiple bullets just keep him in that duck state. We'll see. We'll see. Make myself invincible, because now the boss is going to be a lot tougher. Probably shouldn't put the barrels there. Interesting. Okay, well there's a problem. Because he's able to duck every frame, that's not going to work. So what I need to do is make sure that he's not dodging before he ducks. Seems like the right thing to do. So let's see, come into here, EM dodge is true. Let's make sure that that's not true. EM dodge is false, so he doesn't do it every frame. There we go. That should get rid of that. Sorry for that horrible, horrible sound that was probably pumping out of your speakers. Yeah, make myself invincible. Because I have the bullets set in such a pattern that they're just going to keep crossing his path, he's pretty much always going to duck. He still did get hurt, so that's obviously not working too well. That's definitely not the solution I need to do. So probably what I do need to do is just make his duck state based on distance to bullets. If there are any bullets in the vicinity, don't pop back up again, basically. So don't end the ducking state. Let's see, I could probably do that inside of the alarm. Reset dodge cooldown, that's for firing. No longer hurt. Okay, so that's something else I need to override here. So that's shoot, free to shoot, and new node. Alarm 3 is the one I need to override, because this is the dodging one, the one that says it's okay to pop up. So I need to fix that. And what I probably need to do to change this is check for if a bullet is in the vicinity. So check for this state. Let me jump that even down further, because he is a big boss, so let's knock that down even further. And in here, let's add an if. Make sure that it's greater than that. So as long as the bullets are far enough away, you can stop dodging. Otherwise, gotta make sure there's an else in here, otherwise he'll just never pop up again. Otherwise, reset this alarm. And alarm 3, let's just make it one step. One frame. Just keep checking it every frame until the bullets are far enough away. And let's see how that works. Also lowered the distance, so he shouldn't be dodging quite as much. Because now that he's got the invincible dodge, it doesn't really matter if the bullet's just right over him before he dodges. Okay, that seemed to work. He's still dodging way too close to the bullets. He was vulnerable there. After firing a bullet, he did get hit. Awesome! Now this guy's actually behaving like a boss. Now he's a proper boss. Awesome. There's still a little bit of sound effect weirdness when that exploding bullet's slowly passing over him. So I need to address that, but he's basically invincible until you let him fire. The only bad thing about this is he could be in a constantly duck state if you set it up right. So let's try to set that up. Whoops. Stopped it right in the middle of a sound effect there. Probably not the best thing to do. You could theoretically set this guy up to just never get up again. But I just saw him fire while he was in that ducked state, so I don't think... Let's see, it's probably easier to do it this way. I should probably use the keyboard, actually. Let's try this again. Get my health back. Make sure to turn on invincibility. If you get the bullets, just kind of a stream of them going over his head, he'll probably never pop up. Invincibility on this time. And I'll use the keyboard because it's easier to do 90-degree angles with the keyboard than the mouse. Oops, that's duck. Okay. Myself here. So theoretically, get him into this horrible state. Let me stop that. He's going to get into this state where he's just always ducked because you constantly have bullets flying over him. You need to think of something to do for that. Because you can't fire bullets at 90-degree angles, so it is possible to get him into this unlimited ducking state. Seems like you'd want to reward the player for doing something smart like that by having the boss get up and take damage eventually. Or have the boss try to slide out of it. I don't want to unpause this because the noise would be awful, but let me go to the Christmas level for an example. The player can actually slide dodge like this. And Jamorian also mentions that, yeah, the boss can't shoot when he's in that state either, which makes him very unthreatening. You can't kill him, he can't kill you. You're at just kind of a, well, a nice high noon standoff, I guess. So maybe what I could do is have the boss where he can kind of slide out of where he is if he's been down too long. That would be an interesting solution. Let's see, is it worth doing that? Maybe have the boss move in a dodged state would actually be the way to do it. That would be interesting. That would be something other enemies have never done before. Right now, if dodging or shooting stop movement, what I could do, this may look weird, by the way, but let's get rid of that and see what happens. So now he's going to be able to move while he's dodged, so it's going to be impossible to set him up in a situation where the bullets are always flying over his head, I hope. And like Jamorian said, if he can't shoot, there's no point to having the boss. So if he can squeeze out of those bullets, let me use the keyboard here. Oops, still have my mouse pointer on. It's hard to get that 90-degree angle without shooting. Yes, okay, now he's just moving while dodged. So now there's no way to trap him. The only thing you can do is try to take advantage of that time when he's shooting. And if anything, what this stage is going to become is basically, because, yeah, you can fire bullets, but the boss is going to do a lot of that for you, it's probably going to be a stage of who can survive the longest with tons of bullets on the screen, which would be an interesting boss fight. It does still use the mechanics from the main game, but now it's all about dodging, avoiding bullets, and just hoping that the boss fires and gets hit by one of those bullets that's bouncing around the screen. If he slid upward, okay, and Jamorian did mention, with my original plan with having him slide in a different direction, to make sure that he slides away from the bullet, because if he slides with the bullet, paintbrush, if he slides with the bullet, obviously, he could still be in this stalemate state. So if the bullets are coming like this, and he just keeps sliding down against the edge of the screen, for example, then it would still be a stalemate. But by making him just move in that duck state, it seems to have solved that problem. He uses all the same AI he used to for just moving around. He's just in the duck state. And he's getting some damage there. And I would be dead by now, by the way, if I didn't have invincibility on. So this is definitely going to be a difficult fight, I think, for people. If anything, maybe I want to tone down how often he shoots, now that he's a lot more powerful. So that would be something. Let's make sure he doesn't shoot quite as often. So shoot frequency, I think right now it's every 3 seconds. Let's see. Shoot cooldown to 3. Shoot frequency to 3, shoot cooldown to 3. I need to check what those things do again. So let's see. Step. If dodging or shooting, stop movement. Reset orders to shoot. Set alarm 0. Free to shoot again. Okay. So the EM shoot cooldown is how many seconds it takes for him to be able to shoot again. So let's bump that up to 5. So he's not firing as many bullets out, because otherwise it's going to be a little crazy. It's just going to become like a shmup or something, a bullet hell game in that case. Okay, the boss is not a lot better than it was. Still need to animate him better, because at the moment you can't tell when he's going to shoot, because he's just doing this shuffle around thing in one state. So I do need to actually show him pulling out a gun or doing something where he's about to shoot, so that you can take advantage of that state where he's vulnerable while shooting. And if he's going to fire out 5 bullets, 4 of which explode in your face, you probably want to know when he's going to do that, because otherwise it's not going to be very fun. So I do need to add that task. Let's do that. Animation. Could probably borrow something from the player. Let's find out. Cowboy animation. About to fire. So let's put that in there. Rough animation. So it doesn't have to be good, it just has to be in there for the gameplay to make some sense. And that's what we're going to go for next. But my voice is dying on me at the moment, so what I am going to do is take a quick break so I can drink some water, get my voice back to where it is, and then start working on this boss cowboy animation about the fire. A lot of you are obviously new to this chat, so or new to this channel, I should say. So you probably don't know how I take breaks. Let me explain that a little bit. When I take a break, to kind of cover it, instead of just having I'll be back in 5 minutes kind of screen, what I do is in RPG Maker, which is up here, in RPG Maker I just make these quick kind of like fantasy game dev studio kind of shorts, animated shorts to cover my breaks. In the YouTube video, that's always what comes at the beginning of the YouTube video, but I'm going to use that to cover my break. It should run about 5 or 6 minutes. I hope I don't lose too many of you guys, but I know you've been watching Binre do game development, so maybe some of you are ready to jump onto something else, but if you are finding this interesting, let me know. I like to hear from you guys. I'm not scary, I hope. So throw that in the chat if you're liking what I'm doing, or you're liking the game, or you're working on stuff yourself. Throw that in the chat. Would love to see it. And before I go on break, I should mention for you guys that are going to kind of go away while I'm out on break, all the information is kind of at the bottom of the screen there, and also, well, let's get my finger right. There we go. It's there. It's also in the Twitch feed, but I'm at www.bluetengu.com, btengu on Twitter, and youtube.com Tengu Studio, all one word, if you want to watch some past episodes. And of course, you know where we are here on Twitch if you're watching the live feed, Twitch TV Blue Tengu. But I will be back in 5 minutes, and Jimorian mentioned that he's going to be heading out, so I'll mention the second half of the show. Catch you next time. Thank you for dropping by, Jim. Appreciate you being here, and I appreciate the rest of you guys being here too. I will be back as quick as I can, but here's something to keep you distracted while I take that break. Thank you for waiting while I took that quick break. Let me jump off my desktop here so I can get all of the things I need to tell you guys after the break. Mostly in terms of times and things like that. But thank you for waiting. For those of you who didn't catch the intro, or the thing I did after that, this is Blue Tengu's live game development show, where we show everything that goes into making a game, from concept to completion. If you've ever wanted to make a game, we hope this will help lower the barrier to entry, maybe give you the nudge needed to try it yourself. Even if you don't want to make a game, we hope you find some entertainment value in what we're doing here. All of the information about where you can find us is in the Twitch info down below, or in our YouTube profile for those of you catching us later. But just in case, we're www.bluetengu.com, btengu on Twitter, facebook.com Blue Tengu Studio, youtube.com Blue Tengu Studio for those of you watching the live stream with me now. And Twitch TV Blue Tengu for those of you watching us on YouTube. The game we're making is Project Spaghetti, a top-down 2D cowboy shooter where the bullets fired bounce around the screen with a pinball mechanic. And right before the break, I got the boss actually feeling more like a boss fight, whereas before it was just the boss basically shooting himself in the face. So we're moving in the right direction. The problem right now is because the boss is so tough, you need to give the player some signals that things are going on. The most important of those signals, let me jump back to the desktop, is right here, the boss cowboy animation about to fire. The player needs to know when the boss is about to attack, otherwise there's no way of knowing when to dodge. You can kind of keep your distance from the boss, and then if bullets fly out, duck. Yeah, that's a strategy, but yeah, it's not as good as it could be. And the boss is going to need animation in the end anyway, so let's get it firing. For the player, let's see, jump over to the desktop. I think the player has all of that stuff. Just taking a look in here. This might actually be an old file. I might need to check a different one. Oh no, okay, this does have shooting. So like for example, the player, this is going to be really tiny because I should actually explain the concept since a lot of you guys did drop here from a different game dev show. I love the Commodore 64. It's what I grew up with because it's what my brother had. Love it, and I'm trying to keep kind of that aesthetic going, which is why there's a very limited color palette in the game, by the way. It's not just that I'm a bad artist, although that's a big part of it. It's probably why I wanted to go with a limited color palette. So basically, these are the colors I get to use. I'm not sure how many of you had Commodore 64s. I don't know about your age range, unless you're probably a little older. You probably didn't have a Commodore 64 in the house. Maybe some of you don't know what it is, but it was a game system. Yeah, about a little after the Atari 2600. Well, it wasn't a game system. It was actually a personal computer because it did have like word processing software and all that. But for all intents and purposes, for most people, I think it's a game system. Basically, it only had these 16 colors to work with. One of them's a transparency, so there was actually 15 colors. And so I'm trying to limit myself to that palette as I work. Also limiting myself to that kind of original resolution, although, you know, I am cheating a little bit on that because the Commodore had a very unique resolution that's not going to fit any monitors now without looking weird, so I kind of keep the sprites in that flavor, but not 100% that, which is why they're always super, super tiny. But blown up, they look kind of blocky like this, which is what they look like in the game. So when the player is shooting up and to the right, they have that animation, as opposed to if they're just looking up and to the right, which is with their gun down. So what I need to do is something similar for the boss, for the shooting directions. This could be a lot of copy and pasting, so I apologize for that. But it does need to get done, so let's see. Enemies, boss, cowboy, bad cowboy, scorpion, bad. What am I doing for the boss cowboy? I've got bad and battered cowboy in here. Test cowboy, boss cowboy. Okay, there we go. All that's in here. Why do I have pink? Okay. I guess originally before I used the image blend thing in GameMaker, what I was planning on doing was actually switching the sprites out to get that flashing effect, so don't need to do that anymore. Hopefully. So here's the boss. Little guy there. I do still have all the sprites for the other enemies, you know, the other enemy version, and I'm just scaling the boss up, so it's not too complicated. And even the enemies themselves do have all of the shooting animations inside of here. So this is actually going to be really easy. Just have to take this pink color basically and replace these sprites with that pink color. Very easy. I like things that are easy once in a while. Give me a nice break. Let's see if I can get 4 pixels. That's too much. Alright, I guess I just have to work with 1 pixel. Well, let's use the fill. So if I do fill in the rest of these sprites, I could actually get the boss animating properly, in addition to just the shooting thing, so it's probably worth doing. What the heck was that? Why did it replace both of those colors? I must have had a setting somewhere. It's very convenient that it did that. That's very convenient. Okay, so I must have my fill thing set to just replace all colors of a certain type, which is awesome. That'll make this go real fast. So let's set the boss up. I don't need these anymore, so let's get rid of them. Those kind of damaged things. So right now all I have is the dodge facing down and the walk facing down. So those are already in there. Bump, bump, bump. And for those of you who do follow the show and know that I'm always looking off to the side here at my notebook to kind of check on the chat, I am trying an experiment where I have the chat window down here at the bottom of the screen, kind of where the screen cuts off. So hopefully I can follow the chat if you guys do chime in. You guys are being kind of quiet right now, but that's cool. I do not mind that at all. I don't look up names or anything like that, so if you like lurking, and I like lurking sometimes too. That sounded creepy. If you do like lurking, then I don't call you out or anything like that, so feel free to just chill, have a pizza, you know, watch TV while I do this over here. No worries at all, but I do appreciate when you do jump into the chat, because it's nice to know who's out there and who's interested in this stuff, and of course what you guys are working on. Let's see, I don't need this one anymore. Delete. Yes, goodbye. Don't need that one anymore either. Do have that one already. Shoot front. Back. Back. And we're almost done. No worries, almost done. These are all the different sprites being used. And that's the old one, just in case I need it. Alright, so let's save this as it is now. And let's see if I can get all those sprites out. Before I used a script to do it, let's see if I can remember what that is. Let's see, was it a batch or a script? Export layers to files. I think it was this one. Or I just, you know, now let me move my head aside. As you can see, there's a bunch of layers there. This list of layers off to the side. And rather than having to just save, you know, turn each of those on individually and save them out to a PNG, try to, don't even know if I have to make them all visible. Maybe I do. Let me try. Have a batch that I found somewhere for Photoshop that just takes all the layers and puts them out to separate files. Makes this a lot easier. I don't need the copies. Let's get rid of those. Okay. Let's try that out. Let's hope it doesn't screw things up. Before I do that, I guess I should move these to someplace else. Just in case. Just in case. Okay. Let's try this out. So scripts, export layers to files, file type. This is not what I was using because it has to be PNG files, so that's not what I was using. Must have been something else. Strict Events Manager? No. Automate. Maybe it was an automation. Nope. Scripts. Image processor. Layers. Save layers. That must be it. Save layers. Okay, here we go. Contains 31 layers. Yes, it'll take some time. That's fine. Save the PNG. Let's try it. Didn't take that long at all. So, there we go. That's not what I wanted to have happen. Okay. Maybe I need these all off then. Alright, let's try it again. Maybe because I did turn them all visible, it just made every file have the same pictures in it. Hopefully this overrides properly. That's okay, it worked. It's just because I already had files there that it kind of screwed up a little bit. So let's get rid of everything in here. Try one more time. Scripts, save layers. Yes, do it. Give me what I need. Boss. There we go. Okay, now I've got all the animations in there, and I just have to bring them over into GameMaker. Let's close this down. That's fine. Looks good. Alright, don't need the player thing anymore. So jumping back into GameMaker, let's add those animations to the sprite, which is up here. Bad cowboy. So I should use the same naming convention I do here. Boss cowboy down. Alright. Again, this is going to be a little bit of busy work, so I apologize for that. Game development does have a lot of these moments where it's just kind of doing a repetitive thing over and over again. It's one of the downfalls of it. It's also one of the more relaxing parts of it, because otherwise it's fiddling with things that aren't working right. That's another less glamorous thing for game development. So let's see, how am I doing this in here? Actually, I should look for a good example from the normal bad cowboy. Okay, so with the normal bad cowboy, I'm just putting in 4 images, and that's what's used to animate the cowboy. So I need to do the same thing for the boss. I should keep that up, actually. So I need to do the same thing for the boss, because there's 4 animations for when he's walking down, so I need to add those. So front 1, front 0 again. That's dodge front, front 0 again, and front 4. And as a preview, there he is when he's walking at super high speeds. Obviously, he doesn't move that fast in the game because I control the animation speed, which is through image speed in GameMaker. But that's working fine, so that's 1 down. If you guys are, if you want to say anything, go for it, because right now this is going to be one of those things where it's going to be nice to have some company, because this is going to take a little while to get all of these things in here. And I don't want you guys to get bored watching me do this. It's something I have to do, unfortunately, but alright. If it is interesting, well, that's even better. I hope it is. Cowboy right, load sprite, and cowboy right. Boom, boom, boom. Right 0. Edit the sprite, need to add all those animations. It's been a while since adding animations in this game. Something about it's therapeutic. It's something that unless something horribly goes wrong, I know that there's not going to be any problems with it. It's nice to have one of those moments once in a while. I don't need a left animation because I just mirror the right version, so that's fine. What I do need is boss cowboy up into the right, so that's a different one. So that's front, let's see, front, upright, there we go. Just like the piano, upright. Upright 1, upright 0 again, simulate the footstep, and upright 3. Preview's working fine. Cool. And I need downright as well. Sprite, boss, cowboy, downright. And Cirrus, there you are. I was wondering where you are. Welcome. Good to see you, man. I didn't hear from you last week in email, so I hope your game project is going well. And you mentioned that you love adding to the stuff to your game. It feels like getting something done. Yes, that is exactly it. Debugging, you know, it's one of those things where it makes the game better, but it doesn't really feel like you're adding value to it. It feels like you're just kind of unbreaking the things that had value in the first place. So debugging is not as satisfying as adding something into the game. It causes a trouble to a lot of game developers, including myself, because you always want to add value, even when you should stop. So, but, you know, that's one of the drawbacks, but it's also the fun of being in games. I duplicated this, so what I want to do is load a sprite. So Cirrus, definitely let me know how your game is going. Did you do anything more this week? Good to see you. Have a lot of people in the chat who dropped by after a person named Binre sent them over here after his own game dev feed finished. So there's a couple of new faces in here. I haven't checked names or anything, so I don't know who unless you say something. But that was awesome of Binre. I'm gonna have to throw some links up in the YouTube video and stuff later to his Twitch feed, because that was very cool of him. And you could tell, the guys, those of you who dropped by with that has not happened to me before, because I didn't even know what was happening. I had to look it up. And downright 0. And downright 3. And there's my preview getting working. Okay, now I've got the movement ones. And what do I need now? Dodge. Dodge up, down, right. Need those ones. I do have dodge down, so I just need to duplicate that. Sprite, cowboy, dodge, up, dodge back, that's that one. And there's no animation for that, I don't think, for the other guys. Should just be 1 frame. Yeah, so I wanted to keep the dodge quick because it should be instantaneous. Instantaneous. Just wanted it to be an instant reaction to the bullets. So I don't have some long drawn out animation for dodging, it's just a single dodge down. Need to rename that. Boss Cowboy. Forgot to do that. Okay, and dodge right is the last one. Sprite, boss, cowboy, dodge right. Long file names. Dodge right. Dodge right. There he is. And what else do I need? I need dodge, move, dead, up, down. And I need all the shoot ones and the hurt ones. So let's do the hurt ones first because I have a template for that. Boss, cowboy, hurt. Let me just copy and paste this because I'm going to be using it a lot. Hurt, up. So when he gets hurt from behind. Hurt back. Okay, there we go. That's another one of those things that I wanted quick, so it's just 1 frame. Oh, what am I doing? I copy and pasted for a reason, right? There we go. Hurt right. Hurt right. There we go. And next up is the shoot series. Well, let's do the dead series first because that's easy. Duplicate. Dead. I think I only have dead up and dead down. Let me check. Yes, so dead up is going to be back. There we go. There's, the boss lying on the floor dead. And sprites, boss, cowboy, dead down. Dead front. There we go. And the last thing's going to be the shooting animations. And Sears did mention, haven't been able to do much, kind of a slump creating characters. Yeah, I can understand that. Totally understand. Sometimes you just need to give it some time. Once some time passes, you might get excited to do it again, and then it's those moments that you're going to create your best stuff, so no use forcing it. I'm sure there's lots of other things to learn and work on too, so it's definitely not a bad thing. We all experience slumps. I've had plenty of slumps. Been on a lot of game projects that took like 2-3 years to make. Huge teams, 60, 80 people. That's not huge anymore, but relatively small huge, I guess. It's not like Assassin's Creed huge, but been on teams of 60, 80 people. You're just one voice in that 60 or 80. You're in kind of a voice in the ocean. You're working for 2 to 3 years. Feels like kind of a factory after a time. It's not your game, it's someone else's game. It kind of feels like that. Maybe the part you're working on is yours, but the whole big picture is someone else's. Very easy to get into slumps in that situation where it's like, what am I doing here? What do I need to do? That's also part of the reason why I actually do Blue Tengu. Need to make something that I can say is, mine or ours. You guys are definitely helping me make this game. but just something that creatively, it's just, you know, something I can put my stamp on. And, you know, my love of Commodore 64, I bring that in here and put that stamp on there as well, which is something obviously I can't do with a AAA title or anything like that. But even with this, you know, there's slumps. And sometimes after the weekend, after fixing a bunch of bugs and seeing things that I can't quite get fixed yet, it's like, what am I doing? Just happens. No worries. It's just very natural. Shoot down. So now let's get all those actual shooting animations in, which is what we wanted in the first place. So that you could tell when the boss cowboy is actually shooting you. And that is actually animated, I think. Shoot. Well, maybe it's not. No, because the cowboy's not moving while shooting, so it's just one frame. Okay, so that should be easy to put in. Let's see. Shoot up. Load that in. Shoot back. Should be shoot back, right? Yes, there we go. Shoot upright. Almost done. Shoot upright. There we go. And shoot down right. Shoot down right. 2 more to go. Down right. There we go. And the last thing we need is shoot right. Okay, shoot right. Good. Okay, I think I have everything I need to actually get the boss cowboy animated. I think so. Is the height okay on all of these? Yes, the height is okay. Should be able to do it as is. Even have all of that script in there commented out, so it shouldn't be too difficult to get the boss cowboy animated, which would be nice. I just have to replace all these batters with bosses, basically. So boss, before I uncomment it. Boss. Actually, I should uncomment it first, because GameMaker is going to help me if I make a mistake. What it's going to do is it's going to highlight it wrong. Like if I say boss and misspell it or something, it's going to turn gray, so it's better off to uncomment it. Boss. Who's the boss? There we go. And decent scrimp mentions. Don't forget to add in one more voice clip. The last shot on the boss, you can have the player say, "Suck on this villain." Oh man, that would be awesome. Decent scrimp. Always with the win. You know, just almost 4 decent scrimp this is in there, but what I did, I think about 4 weeks back when I was doing that tutorial, wanted to have kind of an old school voice in the game to get started. So when you hear this ready, set, go, you can thank Decent Scrimp for putting like Sinistar and all of that into my head.
Ready, set, draw.
Ready, set, draw, sorry. Now, using that voice, say suck on this villain when the boss gets that final bullet in the face. Yeah, that's possible. I'll have to think about that one. Let's see here. Boss down. Alright. Looks like I'm okay. Let me just make sure that I'm doing the same thing I'm doing in here for the other cowboys. Okay. Better cowboy. So I don't need to do this anymore. That's kind of a wasted step. Hurt actually does have 2 states, so I need to do something with that. let's see. Do need to do something with that. So when the boss is hurt and facing up, this should be up. Also, if it's up and to the right or up and to the left, it should be the same case there. Up right, up left. For the other cases, well, I could just use default, I guess. Default, there we go. That should be facing down. Let's see, dodge. Don't need to do this here. Let me just scale one. I'm doing that kind of at the end. So let's do it at the end here. Keep it consistent. Make it easier to edit. What I'm doing... Oh, whoops. I guess I don't want to do that, do I? I do want to do that in the beginning. Okay. Or not at all, actually. Let me see how I'm doing it in the other cowboys, just real quick. Okay, I'm only setting image index inside of the case statements, because what I'm doing with this image X scale is that's what I'm using to mirror the sprite, so I don't have to draw a left version and a right version. So what I don't want to be doing this. I always want to be doing it in here. Which means I do have to keep these different, don't I? Up left has to be different, so that has to be its own case. Break, and up left has to be -1. Yeah, I guess I do have to do all the states then. Let's just do them. Let's do them. Case, dir, right. How many hurt animations do I have? Let me just double check. Boss. Hurt down, up, and right. Okay, so I do need a couple of states here. In fact, let me copy that from bad or cowboy so I can get it right. Because I am doing it right in here. I did. Oh, except the bad or cowboy doesn't actually get hurt, so never mind. Alright, so up, facing up, or up and to the right. Use that one. Or just up. Let's just do up. For up and to the right, let's do right. For up and to the left, let's do right, but mirror it. For right, let's do right. That's easy enough. It's right. Case to left, mirror it. And I'm not going to need any defaults anymore. Case dir down. Index equals sprite boss cowboy. Whoops. Image X scale equals 1. That's fine. It doesn't need to be mirrored because it's just facing down. Let's see. Up. Make sure I have everything. I think I'm missing some of the down ones. Up, up right, up left, right, left, down. So I need down left and down right. Down left, down right. Let's do right first. Left. If it's left, it's going to be mirrored, and this should be right again. Okay. Those are all my hurt states. That's completely new because the other cowboys don't have hurt states. And if dodging, that looks okay. If did, that's okay. That's just plain movement. That should be okay. And I need shoot as well, don't I? Okay. I think the battered cowboys have all the shoot stuff in them, so let me pull it from there. A little copy and pasting there. Oh, maybe I'm not handling shooting. That could be the case. Draw self. Yeah, maybe they aren't actually shooting. It's just been in my mind this whole time that they've been shooting. So I do need to add an extra case in here. Let's pull it off the movement. because that's going to be the closest thing, because there's eight directions the cowboy can shoot in. And let me figure out what variable that needs to be when the cowboy is shooting. Aiming? Let's try aiming, because I think that's when the bad cowboy is getting ready to shoot. So if EM aiming is true, use the shooting animations. Else, if EM aiming is equal to true, and what am I calling all those sprites? Shoot. So I just need to add shoot in front of these things, and it should work. Should, theoretically. Okay, and I don't need to do this anymore. I shouldn't ever have to set the sprite index outside anymore. That was just for debugging stuff. This should theoretically work. That's a lot of work to hope that things don't break on me. A lot of changes. Let's see what happens. Start. Oh, let's see what kind of errors I have pop up. The boss is moving. Awesome. Look at that. And he actually points his gun. Well, that was too easy. I want something to go wrong. I can't show you one of those awkward debugging moments if I don't have something to debug. I'll run with it. That's awesome. I actually have something work as intended right off the bat. For those of you who followed the show, like Decent Scrimp and Cirrus, you know that nothing ever works right off the bat. So that's one of those rare moments. For those of you new to the show, you caught me at my best. Because I'm usually at my worst. So, that is done. Let me make sure to save this. That feels good. I like that. I like actually having something work out for a change. So, you know when the boss is about to fire now. You could probably adjust that to be a little bit longer. Let's just see where I do that. Because there's that period when the boss holds out the gun before he fires. Could probably do that. And Sears does back me up on my claim that nothing ever works off the bat 9 out of 10 times. Yes, that's actually being generous. 1 out of 10 times something working might be generous in my case. Probably more like 1 out of every 50 times. You know, once every couple of weeks something just works as it's supposed to. Let's see, aiming is probably one of those things that the enemy's doing in general. Choose shooting angle. Yeah, it's all this alarm 0 stuff. Okay, so alarm 7, shoot wait. Shoot wait is how long the enemy waits before actually firing the bullet after holding up the gun. So that's what I would need to modify in boss if I wanted to bump that time up a little bit. What do I have that at? If anything, I have the boss being kind of quick on the trigger. Because the bad cowboy, the normal bad cowboy just waits for enemy shoot wait, which is, let me look it up. How many seconds? Oh, it's about a little less than a second, 3/4 of a second. And I think Battered Cowboy is the same as the boss. Yes. Bad Cowboy is 3/4 of 3/4 of a second, which is 9/16 of a second, I guess. Yeah. If I can remember grade school fractions. So maybe I need to slow the boss down a little bit, make him more like the normal cowboys, because the boss is the boss, so it makes sense that he's better than the other bad cowboys, but when 5 bullets are going to come out, 9/16 of a second is probably not enough time for the player to react. This is going to be one of those things I'll have to think about. Let's not change it now. Let me just play through it one more time. once I play through it one more time, I should be able to wrap up. Let me make myself invincible because the boss fight is now a proper boss fight, so I can't chat. I can't really chat and beat the boss at the same time. Let's just try to beat the boss. So Cirrus, I'm not sure how long you were here, but this week I was brushing up the boss fight. Because before, you remember, the boss was just this kind of stiff guy that kind of walked around and shot himself a lot. Now the boss is actually challenging. He doesn't shoot himself as much. Ah, that distance is way too short. Let me fix that. That's crazy short. That distance is just way too short. Let's do sprite width times 0.5. 0.55. Let's make it real short. There's one other place where I'm doing this, right? Yes, in here. Not dodging anymore. Yes, okay, so I'm doing this in 2 places. Because the boss is just dodging way too much, even when the bullets aren't really a threat, because the boss is gigantic. So the range for bullets is gigantic. This should make him a little snappier. And invincibility on. Yes. Okay, now he's dodging just in time, which gives him more opportunities to shoot. Let's see if I can kill him. Yeah, as expected, because his dodge is now basically making him invulnerable, which is the plan, unless he decides to shoot, where there's a brief 1-second window where you can get him. I am noticing one problem that needs to be fixed, and that's he can shoot while he's dodged. I think I fixed that in some other enemies. But yeah, you can see he could shoot while he was dodged. The problem with that is, it's kind of cool that he can shoot while he dodges, but then there's no vulnerable period, so I need to fix that. That's making that boss fight impossible. So, if he's dodging, do not shoot. Do I have that in here? If this changed, because he's no longer stopping movement while he's dodged. So he stops while he's aiming, that's fine. So I need something to cancel the shooting if he's dodged. So what I should do is, let's see. Set aiming to false. That's pretty good. Where am I doing this? This might be some stuff that's out in the enemy class. Because a lot of the shooting stuff is out here, the logic, like here, for example. And I could theoretically add it to the other enemies, because if they did manage to dodge, then you probably don't want them shooting while they're dodged either. So it's just that brief window. Let me bring up a timeline. Let's do this in Paintbrush really fast. Because most of you probably haven't seen the steps that went into making this. So when the boss or any enemy gets the idea to shoot, what they do is they hold out their gun and they wait for that 3/4 of a second, and then sets off an alarm that fires the bullet. The problem right now is if a bullet comes towards them, try to draw some speed lines here so you can get the direction. If a bullet comes towards them while they're in this kind of aiming state, let's get rid of that. While they're in this aiming state, they duck, but this alarm is still ticking down, so they're able to shoot. And I need to fix that. So probably what I need to do is cancel these alarms. Cool down before the next shot. That's going to be a little risky. Yeah, that's going to be a little risky because there's things I'm doing in these alarms to kind of unset that aiming state. So if I just break the alarm, they may never shoot again, for example. So that's not good. EM clean shot is true. That's fine. No longer aiming. See, like things like this. They're no longer aiming, so they're free to move. Reset the dodge cooldown. Guess what I could do is here. Here's one thing I can do. Make sure that the clean shot also comes from the dodge stuff. Make sure I'm not doing that already. No. Okay, so here's one thing I'm going to add. If the EM dodge is false, if they're not dodging, and they have a clean shot, then take the shot. So that's one thing. Alarm 7 is something that's going to need to be canceled by the dodge. So that needs to go in there. Whoops. Wow, that made a mess of things. Alright, reset dodge cooldown. Boom. Get things in the right place. Okay. So if they do dodge, they're no longer aiming. Get rid of that state. Probably also have to cancel the alarm here. Where is it? Cancel alarm 7 by doing -1 there. And I should comment that so I know what I'm doing there. Cancel the shoot alarm. So if they dodge, they're no longer aiming, cancel the shoot alarm, they're able to dodge. Well, it'll take some time before they can dodge again, and they're no longer dodging in that dodge state. So this is all stuff I need to add. Probably just this stuff. Well, what did I add? This is stuff I need to copy over into the boss's version now. No longer aiming, free to move. That's all cool. Let's see. Let's make sure I didn't break it. Get the feeling I forgot something. Get that sneaking feeling. Because the last thing went too well, so I'm getting that feeling that I forgot something, but let's try it. Let's keep the boss in a nice, constantly dodging state and see if he ever tries to shoot. Actually, I have too many things going on. That is actually one strategy I should mention. Because the exploding bullets have an area of effect that isn't dodgeable, that's actually one way you can attack the boss, even though it's got that invincible dodge thing. I think he managed to shoot while he was in a dodge state. I think he did. Let me take some bullets away and see. Get just enough bullets to kind of keep him ducked, but popping up once in a while to try and take a shot. A little hard to reproduce, but I don't think it's working what I expect. No. There we go. He was able to shoot while he dodged, so that's not working. Let's see. What else do I need to do in here? When he first starts dodging, I need to cancel some of these alarms too. Maybe I need to cancel the shooting alarm too. Which one was that? Enemy. 0. So when he first dodges, I need to cancel alarm 0, alarm 7. Just to be on the safe side, I need to set EM shoot to false. Just to be on the safe side. Let me bring that over into the boss too. EM3. Okay. Because I don't want to get him in a state where he just never shoots, because then he'd really be impossible to kill. And alarm 0. So I need to cancel alarm 0 when he first starts dodging. So, let's see. That's all in begin step, the dodge. let's think about this. If he's in the shooting state, he shouldn't be dodging in the first place, because that's his vulnerable time, right? So I might be overthinking the start of the dodge thing. That's on begin step. Let me check the boss's version here, because that's a little different. Yeah, so only if he's not vulnerable, then shoot. Okay, that should be okay. I guess it depends on where I'm setting vulnerable to true. That's where I need to start making the fixes, because I think I'm only setting vulnerable to true when he's actually taking the shot, and that's not what I want to do. I want to make him vulnerable when he starts to aim, and that's an alarm 0. There we go. Which means I need to override alarm 0. So, let's see, enemy, alarm 0. Let me look up something real quick. I know there's a way in GameMaker to just inherit from the parent function. So if I don't have to rewrite a bunch of stuff, it'll help debugging later. Whoops, I should put GameMaker in there, GML. Event inherited, that's what I need to do. Event inherited calls the inherited event of an object, which means I can just take all that stuff that's an enemy, just say event inherited, and that gets called. If there's a lot of logic, you can't usually get away with it, but in this case, all I need to do is add a variable setting for EM vulnerable. There is this else in there, isn't there? I can't get away with it. See that? Never get away with inheriting in GameMaker for some reason because of all these branching logic things. So I just need to copy all that over. Okay. And if there's a clean shot. So, let's see. To shooting angle. So I need to do it in here. Vulnerable. So this is why I couldn't inherit. Set it to true. So that should fix that whole thing where he was able to dodge even while he was getting ready to shoot the player. I hope. We'll see. We'll see. We'll see. Invincibility on. Wait for him to get around those barrels. Okay. Yeah, no, he's not dodging. Because he's a big guy, it takes a little bit of extra work to go around some of those barrels, but... Okay, that's a good number of bullets going around the screen. Should be able to test it. Yeah, he's definitely not ducking when he's getting ready to shoot him. Yep, and he's vulnerable, so I think we're good. We're good now. Let me make sure I can kill him. Make sure this boss battle is actually doable. Although I am in an invulnerable state, so I'm not quite playing fair. Guess that's one strategy. Have the exploding bullet explode in your face so it takes damage off him. Probably not a very smart strategy, but doable. Yeah, it is kind of working to wait for him to shoot before taking that shot. It is killable. It's gonna be a heck of a battle, though. I should make him worth a lot more points. Let me do that. Base score times. What is his base score? What are the other guys? let me look at the badder cowboy. The badder cowboy is worth times 20, so let's make this guy times 200. He should be worth a lot of points because he's a tough guy. Let's do times 500. There you go. So theoretically, if you did an exploding bullet to kill him, that would be a 20 multiplier times 500, which would give you 10,000 points. Plus he explodes in coins, so that doubles that too, so you could theoretically have 20,000 coins. He's going to be worth something. Good idea to go after him. So that is that. Let me back up my project the old-fashioned way by just copying the folder here. And that was episode 38 for this week. Drop that away and jump over to Trello, where I keep the task list. So, this episode, there's a few debugging tasks that went into here as well, but I won't worry about those too much. This episode, which was named, by the way, a class boss. First thing we did was we got the boss flashing when he was down on health, so that you could tell how you were doing. A little bit of Zelda in there. Also made it so that he was vulnerable when he was trying to attack you, and no other time really. So it makes it a proper boss fight with some strategy. Also added all of his animations in, actually. So that's not just about to fire, that was just animation. So now he walks around the screen, he aims his gun, everything awesome. And Cirrus gives me an idea. You should make the boss as hard as a Gears of War last boss. Yeah, some memories of going after the last boss. Actually, if Decent Scrimp is still in here. I've played multiplayer games with Decent Scrimp before. Gears of War, we have gone through every Gears of War game together on the hardest difficulty level. So we've done a few of those, you know, experiencing the last boss in Gears of War moments. It would certainly make him feel like a boss, so I'll have to think about that. I'm still thinking about other bosses in the game too, but, you know, that might be biting off too much. At the very least, this boss is going to be a challenge. Right now, he is almost invulnerable, so if I didn't have that invincibility switch on, I might not even be able to kill him myself. He might be beyond my skill level. I'll try that this week. I'll play my own game for a little while and see if I can actually kill the boss legitimately. That would be interesting. If it takes me about 4 or 5 tries, it's probably about right, because I'm pretty used to the game system. So that was episode 38, A-Class Boss. Let's think about episode 39. That's something I forgot to do last week as well. Give you kind of a sneak preview of what's going to be coming next week. I keep wanting to do that, but was given the hint that you could do this in Trello, which is just move to a position there. By the way, Cirrus, how many of the Gears of War games have you played through? I assume you're a fan because you do recognize that those last bosses are a pain. Let's see, what can we do next week? All this stuff is probably pretty trivial. It's not worth doing. This could be interesting. The time crunch. This is something that's in there. I think I have a few comments in here as well if you want to come over and look at them. But this might be biting off a lot, but because it's risky, it's something I have to do as soon as possible if I want to ever see it in the game itself. What I'm thinking about with this time crunch is this. Whether it's a good idea or not, we'll find out. It might be one of those things I just have to scrap if it doesn't turn out too well. But you've got your stage here. You've got your cowboys wandering around in here shooting each other. One thing I was thinking of to prevent the player from getting into kind of a comfortable position is to have some sense of time. Where, you know, maybe the sun starts out here, comes up to here, high noon, and then drops down again. There's a couple of interesting things I could do with this. One is if the sun drops all the way down, turn the screen dark and just kill the player to kind of give it that time crunch feel. You know, like a Super Mario Brothers game where you had like the counter and you had to get to the castle before the counter. Just added that little bit where you couldn't just sit there and wait to decide now's the right time to go. You had to keep moving. Something to keep the player kind of active. The other thing it could be used for is for the first half of the game, keep the enemies as they are now, but in the second half of the game, boost them up a little bit. Make it so that, you know, if they were firing one bullet every 5 seconds before, maybe now it's one bullet every 3.5 seconds or something. They're a little more dangerous. They dodge a little better, a little more aggressive, but also give the player more points. So, what would be interesting about something like that is if your goal was to maximize your points on the leaderboard, you would do your best to just dodge like a fool while the sun is rising and wait for the sun to start falling before you start going after the enemies with your powerful like red bullets and, you know, charged bullets. But you better be careful because they're a lot more deadly. So that's going to be a very interesting risk reward system if I can pull it off. Visually, I'm not sure exactly how I'm going to do it because right now the game's background is just that. It's just a flat map. So if I wanted to have an effect where the sun seems to be rising out of here, it's going to be kind of tricky to do. I could either do it in the sprite itself, like have this kind of cut off sun. Could try to break the image up into 2 layers and kind of get the sun sliding up in between. I'm going to have to think about that over the next week. That's why this is kind of a meaty task. But let's give it a shot. Hope that's going to be interesting. Day-night cycle. So the first thing is going to be to visualize it, so I have something to work with, and then after that work on the time crunch. Obviously, I've got this listed as a 5-hour task. My episodes are only about 2 hours long. Because I do a lot of chatting, probably only get about an hour and a half worth of work done in each episode usually. So this probably will spill out into 2 episodes, but let's see what we can get done. Because if we get that done, there's not a lot of more new stuff to add. There was something PandaBits commented on a YouTube video, which I would like to do because PandaBits has been with me forever. One of the users in the chat, he's been with me forever. Great fan, great suggestions all the time. And one of the things was to have these crazy challenge puzzle mode rooms, which is now in a reach task, but I kind of want to do it. You know, especially because he made the suggestion and it sounds fun. What that is, you know, there's ghost enemies, there's scorpion enemies, there's alien enemies, there's all these different enemies, but they haven't been mixed in the same room before. To have like these challenge rooms where you have to take on, you know, a boss and aliens at the same time, you know, really, really hard, but, you know, for the people that want that extra bit of challenge, it would be interesting. So I do kind of want to do that because PandaBits is the one that suggested it. But other than that, there shouldn't be a lot of new stuff to add to the game. It should be mostly brushing up after I get this done. But we'll see. We'll see. Just have to play it week by week. That's the whole reason I use Agile, so that I can do that. But there we go. Episode 39 is set up. Jump off the desktop. And a lot of you guys did drop off. It was 2 hours, and I think most of you guys were coming off of Binre's game dev show, so I'm sure you were twitched out. So I saw a lot of you guys disappear, but for those of you guys who are still with me, thank you for sticking with me. Serious, if you're still here, thank you for sticking with me and dropping by. Thank you as well to everyone who dropped by earlier. Definitely understand, time commitments and wanting to jump out because this is a long show. But thank you for watching our game dev show. You can catch past episodes and this one over at www.youtube.com. Tengu Studio, all one word, and all that information is in the Twitch info down below, by the way, if you're watching this live. If you are watching this later on YouTube, come drop by the live show we do every week here at Twitch TV Blue Tengu. Try to give you the times. Hopefully I have daylight savings time right in my head here, but Fridays 4 to 6 Pacific, 5 to 7 Mountain, 6 to 8 Central, 7 to 9 Eastern. If you're in the UK, it starts 11 p.m. Friday night and runs until 1 a.m. Saturday morning. If you're here in Japan with me, you just wake up at the same time I do and watch it at the same time, which is 8 a.m. Saturday morning to 10 a.m. Saturday morning, because we're past the international date line. Same with Australia. It starts anywhere from 8 to 10, depending on where you live. Australia is a big place. And it starts at 11 a.m. Saturday mornings in New Zealand. All of us are on the other side of the date line, so we're living in the future. But we always do announce what we're doing through Twitter, so follow Tengu to keep track of when the live show starts or episodes go up, or, lately I've been posting some of the stuff I got out of the Game Developers Conference in San Francisco 2 weeks ago, so you might be interested in that. You can also, follow us on Twitch or YouTube, and it makes my day when I do see you guys following, because it means, what I'm doing here is actually interesting to you guys, and, that makes a difference to me, because it is kind of shouting in the void, and, just 2 weeks ago, finally got my first downvote on a YouTube video. I was actually kind of surprised I made it through 36 or 7 episodes without a downvote, because, YouTube is YouTube. People like to downvote things, and from the beginning I knew this show would be not really well suited for YouTube. The episodes are 2 hours and change. People, when they go to YouTube, they want to watch something for 5 minutes. When I go to YouTube, I want to watch something that's only 5 minutes, so I completely understand that feeling. So I was kind of surprised I got away this long without a downvote, but, it still hurts to kind of see a downvote. I was like, come on, leave me a comment, tell me what I'm doing wrong or what you didn't like. It's not just a downvote, but it's cool. No problem. I was expecting more, so. But, for the same reason, I do appreciate it when you upvote and follow and like and do stuff like that, because it gives me some motivation to keep doing this. And like, for example, Cirrus always dropping by and sending emails and stuff. It's awesome. I love hearing about what you're working on. So, if you're interested in what we're doing, probably the easiest way to check us out is Tengu on Twitter, but you can also check out bluetengu.com. Thank you for watching, everyone. Appreciate it. This was a good episode. Actually got things done. Next week it'll be probably not getting things done. So we'll see. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.